Hello again, beautiful artists, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Along with Skye. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Skye, and I post beginning level acrylic painting tutorials here on YouTube every Saturday. So make sure to hit subscribe so you can join the fun and paint along. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified when I post a new video. Alright, so it is almost officially fall, and a way that we celebrate that here in the US is with delicious fall flavored coffee drinks. I'm a coffeeholic myself, and I wanted to do a fun array of some of the different fall beverages, autumn beverages that we have here to enjoy through painting this time rather than drinking them. So we have our 4 standard brushes for today's class. I use these in most of my classes, and this is a kit that comes with 4 sizes, and the sizes are what's important here in shapes. So I have a large square wash brush, a medium-sized pointed brush, and 2 small detail brushes. I'm gonna get those in my water cup off the side of the screen. We have a really simple background to get started for today. We just need some ultramarine blue and black and white. To see a full materials list of everything that you need to paint along, check the description box below. All right, let's go ahead and jump on in. All right. So I'm gonna grab my largest brush with a little bit of water on it, and I'm going to start in the top part here, but I wanna know how far I'm gonna go down. So I'm gonna mix a very light gray with a little bit of black and white, just a little bit of black. It's a little bit goes a long way. And also a little bit of water blended into the paint. And I'm going to do where my little tabletop is gonna be. And I'm just gonna go up maybe like 1.5 inches. I don't have to go too far today. We're just gonna have a small little table there. And I'm just gonna do a gray line. And that is going to be how far down I'm going to take this top texture. So then I'm gonna start with that same light gray along the outside edges. And also sort of periodically grabbing a little bit of white onto my brush because I want a really light white gray background. And we can even take a tiny pinch of blue in here as well, just to sort of keep things interesting. So this is like our little kitchen area, or perhaps a coffee shop, right? Where we have our little coffee drinks lined up. So this is like the wall color. So I'm gonna go pretty light here, but I don't wanna do one solid color because that's boring and it's not as interesting to look at. I like to add a little bit of texture. But I also don't wanna go solid white either because we're gonna have some whipped cream elements later. We want to have a little bit of contrast with our white. So I'm doing a little bit of a blue-gray. And lots of white. And there was a lot of color there. I wanted to get a little bit more pigment down. And I'm just moving my brush all around and just making my nice little light gray wall background. Okay, and my background is a little lighter than my original gray line. So I'm just going to lighten that area up a little bit. And then you can add any other sort of lightness or darkness anywhere that you might need it or want it. It's your background, so it can kind of look whatever looks good to you. We want a nice consistent texture, though sort of like a wall treatment. A little bit more color. Really getting in good practice there with holding your brush Dexterity is key. Okay, looking good. I think I'm just going to stick with this same brush. Simple to start with today. Simple background step. And going to mix a sort of steely gray blue with my 3 colors together. Just going to take that darker blue-gray color as my little kitchen or cafe countertop. And I'm just going to bring my color up to meet my gray, and this will be my second opportunity to try to get a straight line, as straight as I can, all the way horizontally across my canvas. And we don't want to have any white canvas left over after this step. And everything filled in with color. Okay, and then we're going to step away and let this layer dry, and we'll come back and add our coffee drinks. I'll see everyone in a few. Hello again, beautiful artists. Skye here with an exciting channel announcement. Intermediate courses are now available through YouTube memberships. The program is called the Paint Along with Skye Gold Stars program, and membership includes exclusive access to 2 longer tutorials per month where I take you through step-by-step one more challenging painting. 1 painting, 2 parts. With the Gold Stars program, I'll be taking you through a more traditional painting process where we will use a reference photo and a grid sketch method. If you've been painting along with me for a while and you'd like to challenge yourself a little bit, I invite you to join us. Membership includes sized printable reference photos, access to the bi-weekly videos, which are uploaded on the 1st and 3rd Thursdays of the month. Membership will also, of course, support me and the channel and allow me to keep providing the free tutorials and the intermediate program for everyone in perpetuity. To find out more information and to get signed up, simply click the join button on any of my videos or on my channel homepage. I can't wait to get creative with you. See you soon. Okay, welcome back, artists. We have a completely dry background and some fresh colors on the piece of palette paper here. So I have some more black, a fair amount of burnt sienna, probably a little more than I need. It came out too fast there from the tube. A fair amount of white though, we will need a bit of that. And then just a small amount of cadmium orange and cadmium red. I rinsed my brushes and got some fresh water at break as well. Let's go ahead and jump right back on into it. I'm going to grab my second to smallest detail brush. I like to use this guy for sort of some paint sketching. And that's what we're gonna do with this step, is we're going to block out our 4 beverages before we start filling things in. So when I did my original here, I kind of ran out of space as I moved over to the right. So be mindful of that as we start building these. And I'm going to start pretty far to the left, and I'm going to do a little oval for the top part of my cup, all the way over here left. Okay, and then I'm going to take slightly slanted lines coming down from either side. We're just building our main cup shape here. And I'm trying to make them match as best as I can. It's not going to be perfect, but it can be pretty good. Okay, and then I'm just going to bring that down all the way to sit on my little countertop or table. And I'm going to do a curved line at the bottom. And that is going to be our basic blended drink shape. And that's a pretty big one. So the next one over, I'm gonna do a little bit smaller of a cup, so a little shorter. seeing about probably the same size oval to start. And then this one I'm going to do like a traditional teacup shape or coffee cup shape where it's sort of curved on the bottom. More of an almost rounded shape. Okay, and that would have a handle, but we're not going to add that quite yet. You can see they're pretty close to each other over here. We still have room for what should be 2 more beverages. And we're just going to be keeping the outside most sketch line here, so you can adjust it a little bit and always try to start a little bit smaller than you think you need to go. These are very adjustable. We're just doing like a sketch phase right now. Okay, so moving right along, I'm going to go right next door, and this I'm going to have about the same size as our tall cup over here. I'm just kind of eyeballing, do I have enough space for one more oval over there? And I think I should. That's why I like to start at the top, because if we start at the bottom, then we can kind of end up making things too wide at the top. Okay, and same idea. That's not a perfect oval there at the top, but that's okay, because again, this is just the sketch. Just blocking out the shapes, and then as we fill things in and add our little touches, we can adjust at many other stages. And a little curved line there at the bottom. And we have pretty much the same glass as over there. And then I'm going to go a little bit shorter. And I'm thinking like a iced coffee. I'm not sure if this is called like a highball glass. Just ever so slightly smaller. Right next door. And then we have sort of an interesting array of different beverage glasses. We kind of get to be our own baristas today. Lining up our glasses, and then we're gonna fill our drinks. Cute. Okay, great. Now that we have our 4 shapes, let's go ahead and fill these guys in with either their coffee color or their cup color. And I'm gonna work now just back again from the left over to the right. And I'm gonna start in my blended drink. And I'm just going to take some of my burnt sienna and mix it with a little bit of white, very simple. And I have my slightly larger brush, and I'm going to take this here into my beverage. And I'm going to cover it almost all the way up to my sketch line. I don't want to end up too big though. So it's okay if I see a little bit of white on the outside still, because we're actually going to cover that with a darker color. So this is just the insides here of our blended drink. And I'm going to start a little bit darker of a brown here at the bottom. And then as I work my way up towards the top of my beverage glass cup, I'm going to lighten it just slightly, as if perhaps there was some additional flavor or maybe even a shot of espresso at the bottom of the glass. I know we have a worldwide audience here on this channel, so I wonder, in your country, are coffee drinks like this popular? as well? Let me know in the comments, I want to know. Or do you have any other delicious coffee traditions that you love? Or just perhaps tea? And I'm filling in my slightly lighter beige up top. And I'm also keeping that an original oval shape. Thinning it, perfecting it a little bit for when I come back with my darker color for my glass. We're gonna come back with a little bit of a gray, but we wanna have a nice full beverage there. And then we're gonna have whipped cream on top too. I'm gonna take a little bit more of my darker color and just make sure that everything is nice and opaque at the bottom of the glass. Cute. Okay, rinsing my brush. Nice and clean. And I'm just gonna grab some white for our next shape. Very simple here. Just filling it in with white. And filling that up to that top sketch line. Making sure we have it nice and opaque so that we can't see our little counter line. I have a little bit too much water in my paint. Let me grab some more. I might need a little bit of a second coat. Okay. And I think I'm going to use a smaller brush for this smaller part. And I'm going to take a darker color, maybe like a coffee color. Considerably more brown, just so we have a little bit of nice variation. I'm just going to fill that little oval that I created there at the top with our coffee color. Okay, easy peasy to start. Just getting our shapes filled in with those main, what I like to call base colors. Great. Okay, I think I'm going to hang on to that smaller brush here for one more second. And I'm going to mix a lighter beige. I think I'm going to bring even a pinch of orange into this, just for a nice different hue. Light beige. And with this light beige color, I'm going to add one of those coffee sleeves that you get when you get to-go cup. And that's going to go pretty much right in the center of our cup here. And we're going the same curve as the top and bottom of the glass, all on that same line. We'll swoop, 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 swoop. And once I get the shape blocked out, just going to fill it in with that same color. And I could use my larger brush to speed things up, but I like having the control of the smaller brush. Smaller brush always gives you a little bit more control when you're painting, so feel free to downgrade sizes whenever you're feeling a little out of control. Great. Going to rinse that brush thoroughly. And the other two sections that we have left over now from our sketch, just going to fill in with white. Each one is slightly different. So we have our blended drink, we have our hot coffee. Here we have maybe a latte to go. And then we have an iced coffee. And this is totally customizable too, so you can make whatever your favorite coffee drinks are, certainly. Okay, I'm just carefully filling this in with white to touch the beige area. All right, and up top too. I actually was a barista for a little while at 2 different places in my teenage years. Perhaps my early 20s as well. I was even someone that painted in the foam. And I made beautiful paintings in the foam. And I was very slow barista. All right, and I'm going to take a sort of in-between color for my latte color, because a latte would have a lot of milk. So you see how adding our orange to the sleeve made it a different enough hue to where we have like a sleeve and the coffee latte colors being different. I think that adds a little interest. Looking delicious. Okay, I'm going to grab a bigger brush now for my last iced coffee. And I'm definitely an iced coffee girly. And I like it pretty dark, so I'm going to do brown now with just a tiny pinch of black and some white as well. So just a little tone of brown there of our burnt sienna. And I'm going to fill this in the same way as I filled in our other cold beverage glass, all the way to that white outline. I like to use this brush for a lot of things as well. And if you push with very light pressure, you can get a pretty fine line still. But remember what I said about needing more control, you can downgrade brush sizes. But then of course it will take longer. But unlike an actual coffee shop, we are not rushed today and there is no time limit. Cute. All right. So, over here on our left side, we're looking pretty dry. But I'm going to add just a little bit more of this dark brown down here so that, again, I'm not seeing the table. And then of course I need that to blend nicely. Okay, and I almost want it to go a little bit more light up top here, you know, like how the baristas will sort of make that pretty gradation for the blended drinks. And I need to get some more white on my little guy here too, but he's not quite dry yet. But he is dry enough to add our handle. So I'm gonna grab my second to smallest brush again and just do a really cute and quick little handle there on our white cup. Okay. Very cute, and should be dry enough over here to add our whipped cream as well. So I'm going to use that same brush, and my whipped cream shape, I'm going to have it sit on 3 little cute clouds of whipped cream. So I have 1, 2, almost like a cloud shape here at the bottom. 1, 2, and then at the top I have what looks almost like a little wave. We're gonna do that again over there too, and it doesn't need to look perfect, but you gotta think about how when you make whipped cream, you have like that first base, which would be right there, and then the second swirl, also similar to soft serve ice cream. And I'm even filling in my color in that sort of swoop way, like you would come in with actual whipped cream, to get all those nice ridges. And then see, the top part will come to a little curly cue, like so. So a little wave on top of a little cloud. And while that's still wet, I'm going to grab a little bit of black and make a very light gray. And with this, I'm going to come around the outside edge here and do a little bit of an outline. Just on the outside edges. It's almost a little too dark, but I'm gonna go with it. Very light-handed here. And along the bottom, and then half shade lighter. I'm going to kind of accentuate the curves. Okay, and shadowed the little quick shadow there at the bottom too. And my paint is still wet. I don't want to see through. So I'm just taking a little bit more white to kind of clean that up a little bit. Got a lot of paint there. All right. Very light-handed step. Just, it didn't go all the way around the entire shape. Kind of just went around with my brush. And we had a little bit of wet on wet blending. And then I can come back and thin it out anywhere that it might need. I don't want to go too dark, but I do want it to be dark enough to still see the contrast from the background. I wanted to go really dramatic with the whipped cream there, but we'll do a little bit more reasonable whipped cream over here. All right, but it's looking really cute. And in fact, I had an idea of making an orange whipped cream over here. Just taking a little bit of orange in here for this shape. And let's try it again. So we're gonna do it a little bit smaller this time though. So I have 2 curves over here and 2 curves over here. And then a little curly cue on top. And I probably should have gone the other way. To mix it up, but oh well. Okay, and I see a little bit of wet paint there too, which we don't necessarily want to blend. It wouldn't be that bad though, because we are gonna add some shadow with brown. Okay. Sort of a tricky shape, but ends up looking pretty cute. little whipped cream shape. Okay, and I'm gonna take a little bit of a bright orange here and take it through where the shadows would be and the kind of creases of the shape. And underneath. Bottom side of my little wave on top. And then I'm going to take a tiny bit of a burnt orange, same brush. So I'm just going to take my orange and add a little bit of brown to it. And I'll use that as my shadow color, where I'm similarly going on the outside edge and then kind of just flicking the brush inwards to accentuate the curves. Okay. And since we have that lighter orangey color, thinking we can also kind of do a little bit of a highlight. With a whiter color. All right. Okay. A little bit more pointed, I think will look cute, but it works for me. Just a few little adjustments. All right, looking good though. Let's work on our little iced coffee again for a minute. Oh, looks like I pulled a little bit of white through. Don't know how I did that. Quick cleanup. Let me just touch that up while it's still dry or still wet. All right, luckily I had still my first palette from today. So I have my medium-sized brush and I'm coming in here to my iced coffee. A little too dark. With just a little bit of a second coat here at the bottom so that I don't see through. Just needed a second coat. Sometimes that's just how it goes. All right, I like a little bit of variation in color too. Then I'm going to grab my smaller brush again. And in my iced coffee, I'm going to take a slightly lighter brown. So this is brown mixed with black and white. And I'm going to add a few like ice cube shapes here in the iced coffee. And none of them, maybe a few. We don't really want to do the full cube or rectangle shape so much as we would just be seeing certain parts of the ice cubes. Okay, so sometimes it's just 2 lines, sometimes it's even just 1 line. But we've got to get that texture in there all the way up, and even in this top little oval part, you would have ice cubes. Okay, then I'm going to grab a lighter version and take just a few highlights onto some of those. Just kind of exaggerating our shape there. making it a little bit, have a little bit more depth. Okay, cute. And then same idea, but with a darker color. I'm going to kind of blend some of those a little bit into the iced coffee color again. So it's sort of helping it blend. All right, pretty solid though. Looking pretty cute. I think we need to add a couple cute little elements here and there though to really make this guy shine. And I'm going to do a straw with red coming right into my iced coffee there. Very simple. And then I'll need a straw on this guy too. I think I'm going to have it just coming from behind and coming out the other side there. I like to mix things up so that it doesn't look too matchy-matchy. Just refining my shape a little bit. Okay, got a couple straws, and I'm going to take some pink and do a quick line down the center of both of those, and then blend it slightly. So if you can, we're gonna do a little micro gradation there to get that roundness in the straw, and then a little bit of a darker red. So just some black into my red. I have my same second to smallest brush, but you could use your tiniest. Right along the outside edge, and then a tiny little oval around the end, and shadows along either side. Very, very, very tiny detail step. And I feel like I can see through that a little too much. So I'm trying to get a second coat on there, but I think I might need to wait a second. Okay, that's all right. All right, I'm gonna do a few more little fun things. So we're gonna add a pumpkin to our hot beverage here, very cute. And I'm going to create a nice, vibrant red-orange color. And I have my same brush here, and we're just going to do a little pumpkin shape, which to me looks really similar to a heart at the top with a rounded bottom. Home stretch, everyone. We've done a lot of hard work. Only just a few more cute little details. It's gonna look so nice. And then we're going to do a light brown. Lots of shades of brown today. We're going for that autumn feel. Light brown, but dark enough so that you can see a difference on your little coffee sleeve here. And then I'm going to do a little top part of my pumpkin. And then I want a little bit of a shadow color to add some segments of our pumpkin. So I like to just do a little bit of a darker orange, like a burnt orange with brown and even a little bit of black. I'm just going to do a few little segments with that dark brown color. And if I went too heavy-handed, I can come back in with my orange and kind of tone things down a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to also take that color along the outside edge Just a little pumpkin illustration, or maybe like a pumpkin sticker. Fine-tuning everything, and then we'll add a highlight on there in just a minute too, but I want to make sure I've got a nice solid orange. Orange doesn't have great coverage power, so it can be a little bit tricky. Okay, but we're looking really good and home stretch here, everyone. These two are pretty much done. Let's take a little bit of black, and we're going to take a dark gray color for our cup. And I'm going to take this dark gray along the outside edge of my iced coffee. And along this front edge. But it's okay, we can see a little bit of white because we're going to add some highlights too. The right along the edge highlight from the leftover sketch is just fine. Same dark gray color. I'm going to outline my hot latte beverage with, and also right where my sleeve meets my cup, not along the sides of the sleeve though. So we're gonna do that with brown. Okay, but yes, up top. And from our sketch, we had that first oval there along the rim. Okay, and then a little bit of dark brown. You can kind of pick any brown you want. Now we got a lot of different browns going on our palette here. Feel free to use a second piece of palette paper if you need to. Okay, and I think a little bit of sort of scruffy texture there is in order. Two just very small little flicks of the wrist there. And then I'll take a little bit of a highlight color too. And do a couple of highlight colors just to kind of add a little bit of that kind of scruffy texture. Okay, and then in my pumpkin, I think I want to take a little bit of a darker brown, very dark, and just sort of accentuate the top part so that it's a tiny, tiny, tiny bit darker, and then should be dry enough here to add my final little highlight on my pumpkin segments. Like so. Looking pretty cute. Okay, we are gonna add highlights to our iced coffee, but for now, just go ahead and let that be. And I think I'd like to add a cinnamon stick into my coffee here. I'm going to do that with a red brown, a shade that we have not used yet. And I'm just going to do a little cinnamon stick here sticking out, and I'll make it a little wider than the straw would be. Okay, and then I think I will use my very tiny brush for these very tiny details. And I'm going to take a very dark brown and do a little swirl on the inside of my cinnamon stick. And then a quick outline around it too. And then we're gonna have a little area where it would meet into our coffee. It's a little heavy-handed. So I'm gonna take a little bit of brown in there, and also just a little bit of sort of scruffy texture along the outside edges, and then a little bit of highlight in the center. Just making things look rounded. Okay, it's not the cutest cinnamon stick in the world, but I think it gets the job done. And try to find some more clean white here, just to make sure that this is nice and solid, my white cup. Almost need to put some more clean white on my palette, but I'm gonna brave it, power through. Okay, but we are also going to take some of that dark gray. I might go a little bit lighter since we're going right on white here. And I'm going to do a quick little outline of our whole shape. Nice and clean along the outside edges. Okay, and then we'll have our little oval along the top. And actually, I should have had white still visible on the outside edge too. So I'm just going to add that in really quick. So we want to see the top oval of the coffee, but also the rim of the cup. But it's fun and whimsical anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And a little bit of like a lighter gray. Going to do a few brush strokes just kind of on either side, giving our cup a little bit of interest, a little bit of roundness. Okay, and then the cutest part here is going to be some steam rising. So I'm going to take a gray color for this as well. And I'm going to do a quick little curly Q, which essentially looks like an S, but I kind of start from the bottom. And then maybe another one kind of coming up, and then a few coming from the side, just for our little illusion of steam. And I like to also add sometimes some white right alongside it. And it also kind of makes it a little bit easier to see, but final touches here, everything's going to just come together so nicely. With that same brush, I'm going to take some white back over to the rim of my iced coffee, and then also coming down the sides. I'll do a quick little highlight too, and maybe a little curve there at the bottom. Okay, very cute. I think an even lighter highlight in our pumpkins would be cute. Not too light though. Don't go too crazy, Skye, I tell myself. Okay. Cute. And then I thought it would be cute maybe to add some sparkly sugar here to our flavored whipped cream, as coffee shops often do. Little sprinkle of sugar, and I'm using the back of my second to smallest brush and just orange. Just adding a little few dots here and there, looks cute. And every beverage is going to need a little bit of shadow too around the base. And I also want to have a nice dark line here at the bottom. A little bit of shadow and maybe a little bit of reflection we'll add too. Okay, but just getting everything finished up here and nice and clean and tidy. Okay, and I'm thinking that these areas would have a little bit of cup highlight too around our white cups. I'm keeping everything horizontal and sticking very light-handed. Our white cup, we would need a little bit of highlight and a little bit of shadow. That's what it's all about, folks. Highlight and shadow. Looking good. All right, now we just have our last cup here, just a few more final details. And the first thing that we're gonna do is outline this guy in gray in the same way, okay? Same idea here as our iced coffee. Apologies, artist. It appears that it stopped filming for that last step because my phone ran out of space. So I got a little iPhone notification there and realized that I was not filming. But luckily we just missed this outlining here of that same shape. So that's all we've done so far, so no worries. And we just have a few little final steps left. So I'm taking that same dark black gray with my second to smallest detail brush, and I'm going to do a couple little to-go cup elements. I'm going to do some horizontal little boxes here along this side where the baristas put down your drink order. And I'm just doing that in the same gray color, and I have straight up and down lines and then curved lines, same curve as the cup. And then I think I'm gonna write a cute little fall message on my beverage as well. And I'm gonna write happy fall. And actually, let me use my smaller brush. And I'm just gonna wing this with cursive, just like you would as a barista. Not even cursive, just kind of like scribbly. Happy fall. Like a fun little message from your barista. All right, I just have a few more cute little highlights left here. I want to mention, if you are painting along, I would love to see your work. And I've created a Facebook group called the Art Club that's specifically designed for my students to share their work. There's a link below to join that. Okay, so I have a little bit of white here on my brush. It's truly my favorite part of my day to see what everyone is painting. So I'm gonna do a few little highlights down this side. I didn't want to go right through my boxes though, so I did one at the bottom and then one here at the top. I'm going to do a little highlight there along the rim, and then one kind of coming up from the side there. And then I need a little bit of shadow and highlight underneath as well, but getting on the final touches here. If you've been painting along with me for a couple times and you'd like to challenge yourself, I am launching, or have launched, my intermediate program, which may look intimidating, but I swear the grid and sketch method that we use over there is a total game changer, and it makes it almost easier than just painting with only paint. We do a whole sketch and pencil sketch, a whole grid and pencil sketch before we start filling in over there. It's done with the same brushes and same paints though, and it should be pretty approachable for everyone financially too. I wanted to make it about 1/10 the price as what you'd pay at an art center. So it's not free, but it's a good way to support the channel as well, and I just launched it. It's 2 videos per month on the 1st and 3rd Thursdays. And I can't wait to get creative with you guys over there as well. So exciting. I know I see a lot of your paintings on the art club, and it's been a couple years of these tutorials. And even if you've just done a few, I really encourage you to give it a try and challenge yourself. It's a challenge for me too, but the reference photos help. We use reference photos as well. A little bit bigger canvas. You can check the join button or click the join button and check out more about it. And the join button shows up on every one of my videos and also on my channel homepage. All right, but we have reached the end of today's tutorial, so I would love to know what you guys thought of this cute little fall beverage array. And I would love to see you over in the art club and now in the Gold Stars program as well. So thank you so much for painting along. Happy fall, and until next time, stay creative.